The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Thank you for joining me nice and early. The bus is usually late, but today it's nice and early. It's me and Mark. Mark, thank you for joining me this fine Sunday, mate.
Well, you're very welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well, mate. Looking forward to going on to the game today. It should be good, mate. Especially after Rangers dropped some points yesterday.
And that was a wee welcome bonus for me. I actually put the game on about half an hour to go, so I saw the equaliser. Found it quite funny how the place exploded, and the only thing they can speak about is how a referee who tried his best to let Rangers win the match managed to fuck it up and cost him 2 points. It's quite hysterical, to be honest with you.
Yep, I mean, Celtic have got a big game on today, Mark. We're home Celtic against Robbie Nelson's side. They played on Thursday night, and it should be a good game.
It should be a good game. I'm expecting a lot from Celtic today. They're kind of like they're slowly but surely developing this new, more intense attacking play than they had last year. Even more intensive, I feel like, when we're going forward, we're more sharper. Our passing's a lot more clinical than it was last year, and I feel like today might just be a case of Celtic hitting first gear. Because I don't think we've hit first gear yet, even though we've scored a lot of goals. I think we've got a lot more in the team than it shows so far. And Hearts playing Thursday night, we trip away as well, and I think this could be a right good hammering for Hearts today. I think Celtic are going to turn up, and I think Celtic are going to put 4 or 5 past Hearts, to be honest. I don't say that often,
Mark.
mate.
Everybody get that on your betting slips today. 4 or 5, and Stephen Welsh to be the first goal scorer.
God.
No, but
don't mention him again.
Mark, I want to talk to you about Jota, because I think if Celtic have a good performance today, I think Jota is definitely going to be a big player for us today.
Oh, the guy just oozes quality, Reegan, you know what I mean? Whether he's playing the right or whether he's reverted to the left, I think it matters. The guy's just got something about him. My preference is the left, but we'll not labour that point. We've already spoke about that when he made this situation. I think the guy just looks a level up for anybody else on the park. Certainly anybody else in Scotland, apart from Morelos, obviously, who's seemingly the best player in the country, according to Chris Boyd. But no, I think anything good from Celtic Well, I was going to say it comes from Jota, but I feel like we've got a lot of game changers in the squad. I think Matt O'Reilly's got that wee bit about him. I think Cam McGregor's always had that in his locker. Hatate's always chipping in with goals and assists as well. So we've got there's a lot of quality throughout the squad, throughout the team itself, but Jota's just that level above anybody else we've got at Celtic, my only thing about today is it's the same old argument for me as Giakoumakis or Kyogo. I think today's game actually called for Kyogo. I think especially they're going to be kind of testing Celtic's resolve. They're going to just try and keep it tight for 15, 20 minutes, and I think Celtic can get in behind them, and I think the man to do that is Jota. You know what I mean? He's as sharp as attack, and I think that's in these type of games at Celtic Park at least. I think that's where Kyogo comes in perfectly, and what would be better to Giakoumakis for the away fixture at Tynecastle. But today I would start Kyogo, and I think Jota, Kyogo, whether it's Maeda, Abada, I mean, there's quality over that front line. There's a lot of pace, and I think Celtic, with our pace and that sharper passing that I was mentioning earlier on, I think we're looking a lot more sharper even than last season, which was good. But I think this is maybe his second season, and it's kicking in as well, and he's maybe spent some time on the training ground just getting those wee creases ironed out. And I think we might see a more clinical Celtic this season. We'll still drop points, that's inevitable, but I think you might see a bit more higher scoring Celtic this season. I think we're going to be focusing on taking more chances than what we have done recently.
Yeah, because I don't know if you noticed it, Mark, but Andrew's quite critical even after the 2-0. The 2-0 against Aberdeen, he said that Jota was one of the guys that wasn't impressive because he was doing the wrong things in the first half. So if this is Jota doing the wrong things, I would like to see him when he's doing the right things, Mark.
Oh, I think that was kind of expert psychology from Ange Postecoglou. I think he knew the game itself was a bit of a bore fest after the start of the celebrations at the beginning of the game. I think Celtic just turned up and won the match, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, Reegan. They won it comfortable. 2-0 doesn't reflect the actual gap in quality on the day, but I get why he did it. I think he was just trying to install in the players that just doing enough sometimes isn't going to be enough at Celtic, and he's of the mindset where Celtic under him is going to be as ruthless and as clinical as possible. And I think that match in particular, Jota scored a worldie, but he actually was quiet, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it wasn't like
It was,
I actually think that today could be a match for Kyogo. I know he scored 2 goals this season, which is fantastic. You can't ask for better than that. But his performances have been pretty quiet. I mean, I think in the first half of the game last week, he had 1 touch of the ball and it was a goal, which is enough. If you get 1 touch and you score, for me, that's perfect. But I think he's normally more involved in that. And I think today you might see a bit more of Kyogo. I think he might drop deeper a bit more. I think he might be wanting a bit more of the ball to get yourself. Because he spent a huge chunk of last season, right up to the death of the season, unfit. He was injured, and he's maybe seen a wee bit of that creeping in just now, where he's just not that match sharp yet. Although his finishing is fine. He's scored 2 goals in 3 matches. He can't ask for more than that. And 2 away goals as well, away at Ross County and away at Kilmarnock. So keep long may that continue. But I think today you might see a wee bit of more of an edge to Kyogo.
Mark, I don't know about you, but I've been quite critical of Greg Taylor over the years. But I thought his pass last week for the first goal was exceptional. I think that this season he's really stepped up. And that's something that me, you, and Russell's been speaking about. And that's because he's got proper competition and Bernabei.
Well, I'm going to ask him for a left hand for the dancing, put it that way. No, Greg Taylor, I've actually been praising Greg Taylor for a good maybe year and a half, 2 years. I think, for me, I've not got a problem with the player. He's just not got a fancy second name, Reegan, and he's a boy for Kilmarnock. That's his unfortunate situation, that he's just a boy for Kilmarnock. And he's always going to be that in the eyes of some fans. The fact that we bought a £4 million left back and we bought a £3 million left back ball and goalie as well, £3.5 million, and not one or two of them. Well, the ball and goal situation is a bit different, but not one of them has displaced him. So the guy must have some sort of quality that Neil Lennon and Ange Postecoglou felt he was the best option out of two of them. And I think, I mean, there was a goal last season we scored against St Johnstone, I think it was, and it was one of the goals of the season. It was like 50 passes.
I remember the game you're talking about. Aye, we beat St
Well,
Johnstone 7-0,
yep.
was it? And then he's just playing the ball.
Well, he was.
Aye, it was lovely.
That move started from him in our own byline. He took a wee shimmy past a player and dropped the shoulder, turned round and played a simple pass, and it just the game just opened up for Celtic because of that. And he's been doing wee kind of step overs and dropping his shoulders and doing wee tricks quite a lot, but it's been going unnoticed. And I think you're noticing a bit more this season because I think Celtic's cutting edge is a bit more sharper, and some of the things he's doing is getting more noticed. Like that pass. See if it was Hatate that played that pass or a Turnbull or Riley, you'd be raving about it. And the fact that that's your left back, that's your left back. He's dropping in and he's playing balls like that. That's one thing you've got to say about Taylor and Ralston. I don't think that's been their game since they've came to Celtic. They've developed that under Ange, and that's Ange is totally installed in the two players that they can play this system, and the two of them have took that on board, and they've excelled. You know what I mean? And as two Scottish players, two guys in the Scotland national squad, so it's good for the Scotland fans. I couldn't give a shit about that, to be quite honest with you, but they're playing at a high level at Celtic, and I think Greg Taylor in particular this season has started electric.
John Boy 67 says Greg Taylor is a workhorse and he never stops. I tend to agree with that. I think he's buying into Ange's system, Mark. I think he's really buying in, and you can see that he's having an impact around the dressing room. I mean, McGregor said, I think it was last year, that Greg Taylor is really good in the dressing room, and he's always there for people, and he's always making people laugh. I think that's important in the dressing room as well, and especially when you've only got a few Scottish boys there, Mark.
Oh, definitely, mate. And I think he's much more than just a workhorse, you know what I mean? And I know that wasn't meant as a dig at him because his work rate is really good, you know what I mean? I think if you looked at the areas he covers in the pitch, I'm pretty sure it'll be up there with anybody else, you know. But he offers a lot more quality than what you'd imagine, you know what I mean? It's like, I think sometimes like a lot of his stuff goes unnoticed. See, the camera doesn't pick up everything, and I think when if you're at the match or you maybe watched it from a different prism, you can see a lot of the stuff that he does and a lot of the grass that he's covering. You know what I mean? And I do think for a couple of seasons now, anyway, I think he's actually stepped up a bit. You know, and don't forget when the COVID season. I mean, he went down injured in one of those pre-season friendly matches we played at Celtic Park, and I think it was against Hibs, and there was a right panic among the Celtic fans that he was our best left back choice, and even overballing goal at a time, and that's for a reason, mate. You know what I mean? We've just not replaced Tierney with anybody of his quality, but we're certainly having to replace Taylor with somebody that's better than him. I think Bernabeu is going to be a slow burner. I think he might be next season or maybe the season after before we see him play football. I think he'll be out on loan probably unless something changes with that boy's situation. Looks to me as if he's never played professional football at this level before. But I've seen.
I quite like that comment from Jim Dolan. He says that we Taylor's making people up and take notice, and I tend to agree with that because I think last year people were doubting Greg, me included, but now we're starting to sit up and go, right, well, Greg Taylor's a good option.
I think he's the best option. Never mind the good. I think put it this way, I trust Angie's judgment, you know what I mean? And I had a wee bit of a joke there about Bernabeu, but to quite honestly, mate, if the guy was anywhere near it, then Greg Taylor would be he'd be under threat for his jersey, and Greg Taylor is a stick on. In fact, see whether it's Europa League or the Champions League or a derby match, Greg Taylor's the first choice left back, and he has been for some time now. You know what I mean? And that just proves how good or how reliable Ange thinks he is. And if Ange thinks he's good enough, he sees the guys training every single day of the week. He's out in the park. He's a coach. He sees the guys, their efforts. And if he tells me that Greg Taylor's fit enough and good enough and adaptable enough to play in his formation, then I'm all for it, and I back the guy 100% on that.
See, Mark, see what we do in the Boys to Bus is we read out the comments, and we've got somebody here. Stephen says, thoughts on Dundee United. They're knocking back Celtic's ticket allocation for next week.
Oh, it's not a surprise, mate. I mean, it's been happening since I think one of the first teams to do it was Hearts years ago when they managed to get more season tickets than what they were expecting, and it's snowballed. Even Rangers did it after them, and I think it's just the petty country we live in. People would rather have an empty stand and give Celtic fans and Rangers fans their tickets, and to an extent, I see why the clubs do it, because their home support are aggrieved by it, and a lot of them don't turn up because of that. I mean, they've actually, I think it was St Johnstone, they said, I think they've done a poll amongst their fans. Well, I say their fans, I mean, the tractor that brings 5 of them to the stadium. They did a poll, and I think one of the reasons why, because they noticed that the actual attendance for these matches against Celtic and Rangers, and for the home support, is dramatically dropping. And one of the reasons why they said was, well, they're taking over their stand, they're taking my season ticket seat, I'm being relocated to the main stand, etc., etc., and we just don't feel like it's correct. So a lot of them are doing it. Dundee United, I think they're a bit of a classy club. I like Dundee United. They've always seemed to do things the right way, you know what I mean, and their fan base and things like that. It's a lovely wee stadium, but I don't understand that movement. I think that when things were going a bit haywire for these clubs and they were needing the money that we bring to the stadium, they were happy to take our money. But see, when there's a situation like this, they can just cut the allocation, and I don't think they should do it ad hoc. I think it should be set in stone at the start of the season, because see, if we were playing at I don't know, I'm going to say Livingston to win the league. They would sell every seat to Celtic fans, every seat, and so would Kilmarnock they have before. So would Dundee United possibly again if they had the chance again. So this should be done at the start of the season. They can't just do ad hoc and do it whatever suits them. You know what I mean? I think Celtic Rangers fans deserve a bit more respect for what they do, but how much money they bring into the city and how much money they bring into these clubs, and they cut allocations just for the sake of it. It's just ridiculous. But I do see sometimes there's a wee argument, because the home support who are coming week in, week out, the 55 of them or 65 of them, they deserve to have priority over like me, you, or anybody else in the Celtic support. So I do understand it. I just find it ridiculous, mate. I think you shouldn't be like leaving a seat empty when somebody is able to buy the ticket. It's just Scottish football that is crying out for money. Sponsorship deals that are below par, TV revenue that's ridiculous, and we're watching a product on TV with half empty stands, and sometimes a third of the stadium is only full. And when you're locking out 1,000, 2,000 Celtic fans every away match, it just how a board of directors feel like that's a good financial decision for the club. I doubt that's the case. I think they're just kind of pandering to their core support, and in a way I back it, because their support is what matters. But I just find it a bit ridiculous, mate, that in a cash-strapped football
Mark, I support
club that happens.
Sorry, Mark, I suppose as well, the thing for Celtic fans will be annoying is that probably Dundee won't sell their season next week, because they've been terrible the last 4 weeks. They got beat 7-0, they got beat 3-0 yesterday, and they got beat 2-0 the week before. So I think they'll be starting to turn against Jack Ross, as Phil McGinley says here. Phil McGinley saying that he wouldn't be surprised if Jack Ross is getting sacked soon.
I think there might be half of the stands empty, and there might be an empty chair in a dugout and all, because he might be going as well. And we said, I'll quite like Jack Ross, actually. I thought he was going to be. I actually thought he was going to be a future. At one point, I thought he could be a future Celtic manager at one point in his early career. But it's not worked out for him, and I think he's just chosen the wrong club, so I'm going to be honest with you. And they get rid of him at Hibs when they had a cup to play.
Well, when Brendan Rodgers left, Jack Ross was in the running. People were talking about, oh, Jack Ross. I remember.
Well, that was a bit early for me, but I did when he was at St Mirren originally, and he was at Alloa and all the rest of it, and I thought this guy looked. I mean, when he brought two teams to Celtic Park under Rodgers and the Alloa game and Alloa, sorry, and St Mirren, and the both of them took us all the way. And this was in a season. I think I did quick maths a couple of years ago, and that season I think Celtic were only behind the full season, something like 130 minutes.
Oh,
The full season.
that is
It was
some
I'd
start
six.
there, Mark.
And about 68 minutes was in one game against Motherwell. So that just shows you how he managed to take a St Mirren team to Celtic Park, and they were in front of us for about 40 minutes. Possibly they should have went 2-0 up, but they had the crossbar.
I think we did we beat them 4-1 that day, but they end up going 1-0 up.
They went 1-0 up, we beat them 4-1, but it should have been maybe 4-1, but it should have been 2-0 because they had a chance at the crossbar. And Celtic, and I was at the game, and we were toiling, mate. I can assure you. Same as the other game, the other team that I can't pronounce properly. That was at Alloa. That was a strange one. I think James Forrest ended up cutting in and winning the game for us. I think Craig Gordon tried to chop somebody's head off with his football boot and all that match. That was a red card all day long. Thanks to the SFP and the corruption, we didn't get one.
That was like a Tuesday night or something, wasn't it?
It was pitch black midweek, mate. I remember that. I was there or not, and I did think that myself, and it does make no sense because, but in the same respect, if a board of directors was to make another bad decision this week, if the fans are clamouring for him to be sacked, right, for talk's sake, then they made the decision to sell maybe another half of their seats to Celtic. It would just put more pressure on the board in terms of how the fans feel about their decision making, you know what I mean? But for me, as I say, for a cash-strapped club, don't forget this is a club that they've got £1 million training complex. I think they got a loan on the back of it 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was secured that nothing would ever happen to it, and they would just pay it off, etc. But I think there's for us to be having empty seats in stadiums. I mean, honestly, mate. I think this is a decision to stop pay at the gate in the SPFL was a ridiculous decision at the top league. I even think there's people that would pay at the gate and maybe haven't got access to computers or just willy-nilly just driving to a local stadium and paying £10 at the gate rather than having to log on and create accounts and queue at ticket offices. It just puts the average guy off going to the matches, you know what I mean?
It does.
And the price is ridiculous. But see, the thing is, see if it was £40 Reegan and they've got 1,000 spare tickets, that 40 grand would be snapped up into their pockets by midnight tonight. They'd be sold out. I've not got a ticket for that match. I'm finding it really difficult to get a ticket for a away match just now. Really difficult. I've not an option to one yet all season. I know it's pretty early, but it's still frustrating. And mate, it's for me, Celtic should be getting things at the start of the season put in place with conjunction with Rangers and the SPFL board that they kind of just chop and change the allocations. We're either getting 15% of the allocation or the contractual 5%, but it's got to be set in stone that we've got that so we can tell our fan base that more than 10 days before a match that we're getting a shitty allocation.
Well, people in the comments can let me know, but I don't think the Celtic game against Dundee United will be on Sky either. I don't think it'll be on again.
It's a 12 o'clock kick-off, mate. I think that'll be on Sky, mate.
Is it?
I think so. A Sunday 12 o'clock.
Oh, is it? Right, because I knew the game last week was on, but I didn't see this game. Because that's something else I want to speak to you about as well. Is there's going to be a multitude of games that we're not able to see. So going to that game in Dundee next week. So I think for the majority of the season, if you don't get a ticket, then you're probably not able to see the game unless you've got a streaming website.
Unless you wear loads of khaki and follow certain sections of the crowd, you're not going to get a ticket for these matches, mate. You know what I mean? You're going to need to top up on your dark green jumpers I'm afraid, mate. With
Aye.
your bucket hats. No, to be honest with you, mate. It's a frustration of mine, and I did hear you saying last week or 2 weeks ago that it might be a case that there'll be even more games for Celtic. We don't forget. I think it was last season about 6 or 7 games. I mean, me personally, I had to pay like £20 to sit in the house and watch, and it was ridiculous. And that's not going to happen this season because
No.
of because UFS took that option away.
I
But
mean,
if we've got 14, I mean, the probably the good thing about this season is we've got Hearts, right, and group stage football, Rangers in group stage football, and Celtic all guaranteed. So there'll be a lot of chopping and changing of the fixtures, which might snowball things, which means you might get a lot of Sunday games that you aren't expecting. So I'm thinking that there'll be a lot of games rearranged that were supposed to be a Saturday, just say third part on a Saturday, might be rearranged to a Sunday. And that plays into your hands because that game will probably be shown on Sky, you know what I mean? If they haven't rearranged these games, sometimes they put the fixtures out as indicative. That's the games, the dates that they're supposed to be playing
yeah,
at, but they're subject to change. And
I suppose, Mark, I
and
suppose.
it's unfortunate for Celtic fans. Like, I mean, last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Ross County. I mean, I seen 50 minutes of that match, and that shouldn't be the case in 2022, mate. It's ridiculous, mate. And see if I get another game like that, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Phil McGinley saying Celtic games on Sky next week. I suppose the big thing for us, Mark, is that people moan about that Ross County game not being on Sky. There's probably going to be like say 10 away games this season that'll not be shown. So it's not just a case of one game. This is going to be 10, 12 away games that we're not going to get to see, apart from Ibrox maybe.
Look, I don't know about that, mate. I understand your pessimism after last season, and we've only had 2 away games and 1 wasn't shown. So I understand why you're maybe panicking a wee bit, mate. But I don't understand that, mate. Sky don't do a lot for
Sky don't care.
No, they've got a 42. Well, last season I think it was 6 matches that they chose not to show. In fact, see the 6 matches, they actually bid. That's just something people don't realise. That there's a bidding process, and they actually bid for these games not to be shown as well. So it's a strange. I had it all explained a couple of weeks ago in a different pod, and they were saying about there's matches that are signed up in a contract, but people also pay for them not to be shown because it interferes with their scheduling and things like that. I'm not entirely sure the exact reasons, but that is something that happens. And
yep.
And I think 7 last year. I think, to be honest with you, seeing about the last maybe 10 years, mate, apart from the COVID seasons, there's maybe only been 1 or 2, maybe 3 games that haven't been shown on Sky or whatever platform. So
To play the
I think last year maybe was a bit of an anomaly, and I think the Ross County game was 2 factors. The English season started that day, so they were setting their full calendar that day was about promoting the English game, and then the second one was it was a Saturday at 3 o'clock, and the game wasn't getting shifted, and that just fucks up.
I mean, it's an interesting debate. Now we're going to move on to Mark because Celtic are linked with a brand new player. I'll let you say his name.
Well, fuck, I don't even know, mate. I don't know. I can't even pronounce it, mate. I was typing it earlier on.
It's a hand.
Handenachov or something like Handenachov or something.
Well,
But
something like that.
We're going to give him a nickname. We'll just call him Handy Andy, right?
Anyway,
give him a nickname, mate.
So he's been linked. This time last year he was 6.5 million. People, the actual manager of their club and Ruben Kazan has come out and said that he's untouchable. He's one of the best players in Europe that he possibly could be. I think this could be a big move, Mark, if we get him. Because see if his managers come out and going, right, this guy's a top player. There must be something to it, Mark.
Well, the first thing I'll say to that is he can't be that good in that guy's eyes if he was £6.5 million 10 months ago and he's only £5 million a day. So and he's quite clearly getting sold for less money. So the guy must have doubts about him somewhere. But as a selling club, that's what you do. You bum up players. But I saw videos of him, I saw clips of him, and it looks really good. You know, when he cuts in from the left, and he looks muscly. He looks like he can run through a defence. He looks really my type of player. I'm not entirely sure where he's going to play. I did see that he can play left and right wing, and he has also played a short stint through the middle.
Aye.
So it could well be another attacking option, like
Do you think
maybe
he
a Neil
could,
Yunusi type, maybe.
do you think he could be the replacement for Tom Rogic that was talking about, Mark?
Well, that could be the case, mate. You know, I mean, the clips I did see him were on the left coming in, but which I like. But I did see that he plays a lot of football on the right, so he could be totally right there, mate. And that would do me. We've not replaced Tom Rogic yet, and
No.
I think O'Reilly and Turnbull, they provide the same sort of service for Celtic. They're not, when I say they're similar players, I think they do a similar thing for Celtic. You know what I mean? Somebody that slots into that area of the park. You know what I mean? And I think, like, I don't know. I've got a wee feeling that this guy could be a class act at Celtic, because Ange will make anybody better. But if that guy's willing to learn, he will be made better. And we're needing somebody to come in and cover Rogic, because you can't let somebody of that importance leave the club and not even try and replace him, mate. I know Matt Riley was signed in January, but that's not the case at all.
Because what I'm thinking is that Moy was brought in to replace Beaton now. That's what I'm thinking now. Moy was brought in as the Beaton replacement.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know. I think if that was the case, I think we're probably better off keeping Beaton. I think Beaton would provide you a lot more than this guy does. You know, he looks tidy and he looks unassuming. He just,
because I think if you look at Moy, I mean, he's coming on. He was on the Aberdeen game, and he was on the Ross County game, and also the big game that we won 5-0 last week. He come on those games about the 70-minute mark to try and finish off the game. You know, he's no like.
I think he's going to get a lot of time, mate. He is going to get a lot of time, a lot of game time. Whether it's merited or no, I'm not entirely sure. I know Ange seemingly is this guy. By the way, nobody in the planet seemingly knows Ange because he's so inside himself. But everybody in their support seems to know Ange's mentality and everything, and he's an Ange player, this, that, the other. No, I think people are saying Ange has negative favourites. I'll tell you something. Moy will get more game time between now and Christmas than what McCarthy and Beaton got combined last season. I'll guarantee you that.
That's my
because he's Ange's player. He's absolutely, when the call came out for the boards or the playing department about placing Beaton or whatever it was going to be, I can categorically tell you that the scouting department didn't identify Moy. He identified Moy, which is a good thing. I want your manager to be involved at that at every level for our first team players. But I think on that, he is going to be getting a lot of game time, whether it's merited or no. But see, bringing him on when Celtic are 4-0 up, and then the supporters saying, "Oh, I played a few tidy passes and he looked decent." And then the guy seemingly gets a wee bit of an easy time because you think, "Oh, he's good. He does the tidy stuff." But see when the guy comes on against Rangers at nothing each, or 1-0 up and controls the midfield, then we'll see why he's earning the money's getting at Celtic. You know what I mean? And bring them on to see games out. That's a job that needs done. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Celtic have been missing somebody. I mean, Scott Brown was great. I've seen Celtic were 1-1 or 2-1 or hanging on the edge of your seats. Scott Brown used to see a game out for Celtic. Used to just control the midfield and calm everything down. So we need somebody like that. I mean, of course we do. But Beaton was good at that as well, to be honest with you, slowing things down and frustrating the opposition. But a couple of cameos against, let's be absolutely fucking serious. Free cannon fodder for last season. I mean, Ross County did get into the top 6, but come on. I mean, you're talking Diddy teams here, you know what I mean? Kilmarnock fought the Championship. Aberdeen, they finished in the bottom half. Lucky enough to get sucked into a relegation zone. Free cameos against teams like that, it's not going to impress me. But I'm with Shania Twain, mate. So I'm just telling you what I think.
Shania Twain. Mark, somebody's saying, do you think Fabrizio Romano just sits on his couch and watches Celtic games and links them for big money down south?
One thing I know about that guy is he's cheap to get on your podcast. He's pretty cheap. He's got good prices.
Oh, really
No,
good.
you're really good. I mean, it does a 3-day special, I heard as well. No, to be honest with you, I think the guy is very clued up. You know what I mean? He's had a few whoppers with Celtic. I think the Juranovic one, there's a different one. There was two with Celtic, I'm sure, in pretty quick succession. But he does tweet about Celtic quite a lot the last couple of years, and which I like, because I think when a guy tweets something, normally there's a good basis behind it, and unlike your journalists who just tweet utter shite, you know what I mean? And the level of journalism in this country, I've got guys got a lot of respect for. We've had one of them on the show, Richard Gordon. He doesn't really publish much of anything. He's more of a presenter, but guy always speaks sense. There's a couple of them that really do talk sense, but the majority of them are just talk a lot of shit, in my opinion. It's all clickbait stuff. It's all
Aye.
guesswork. But this guy seems to be one of the guys who doesn't tweet anything unless he's maybe checked it 3-4 times. You know what I mean? He's got a good reputation. So but if he's watching Celtic again, good on him.
The bus driver Russell is saying that Hugh McDonald from the Times is very good. Hugh's a very good guy. I like Hugh.
He's a Tim as well, which is pretty good.
I've met Hugh.
That's good, mate. That's good.
Never
See the thing I find, and it might just be my bias, but I find the Celtic supporting journalists out there, and there's not many, seem a bit more balanced than the other ones. You know, when they see Celtic making a bad move, they call it out pretty quick. I'm not talking about the Andy Walkers who just criticise Celtic in every direction, but the guys like that, they seem to be fairly balanced. If Rangers are playing good and they're a better team, they'll come out and say it, etc. But we don't really seem to get that in the other way. You know what I mean?
No.
We're talking about a profession here where, I mean, I remember when Craig White was scouted to take over Rangers, and David Murray said in open court, this is in record, this is written down in record, David Murray said in open court that the due diligence on that deal was done by the Daily Record. He read a report on the Daily Record that this guy was worth £1 billion. He said, aye. So he was asked, what was your due diligence on this guy's career and this guy's reputation, which was very murky. But he said, well, I was reading the papers. The Daily Record said that the guy was worth billions and he's off the radar wealth, etc. And that's he said that in court. That guy, you know what I mean? And that just sums up Keith Jackson and all the rest of it. You know what I mean? Utter pricks.
Yep. Moving on, Mark. We're going to speak about Celtic's opponents today because they were in European action on Thursday night, and I think that could play into Celtic's hands, Mark. Do you think that yourself?
I think they're in Switzerland, you know what I mean? So they probably didn't get home till like Friday during the night or Friday morning. Probably did a wee training session yesterday. So we're used to it, Celtic Rangers. We're used to these sort of weeks, you know what I mean? These Thursday, Sunday games. They get a half decent result, 2-1 away from home for them. So that's a confidence booster. Sometimes I've heard people saying you don't feel tired when you're winning, or the squad's feeling confident. You don't feel tired. So I'm pretty sure that side of it will be okay. I just think the mental side as well. Like they've been concentrating for 90 minutes against that team. They've been focused for 90 minutes. Playing that level of football, it's not just about physical things. It's about not letting your man leave you or lose you, and that takes a lot of mental fatigue. It takes a lot of mental effort to do that. I mean, fatigue does set in, and I think with Celtic's sharpness, that more clinical edge that I feel Celtic are getting just now, famous last words, sweet enough, and Hearts just going back for a journey like that. You know what I mean? I feel like Celtic don't like Hearts anyway. I think Hearts' game plan today will be to frustrate Celtic, but it will also be to kick lumps out of Celtic players, and that's something I think the referee will need to watch it for, because we're going to see a Hearts team that are going to be kicking anything that walks and anything that runs will be getting booted and all. And I can just see it coming, mate. But I think
Thank God it's not me, Mark.
what's that, mate? I know, mate. I know. I think me and you would be good in the Hearts team. I think we let the goals in. I think, mate. But no, I think I do think that Hearts mob will kick lumps at us, which is fine. I mean, it's no fine actually. It's ridiculous that's your top division and probably that's probably the top team in the league. You know, as Hearts. Celtic and Rangers don't count as such. They're by far the best team out the rest of them. Quite a distance, I think. And I think the tactic today is going to be kicking Celtic off the park. We're going to have to adapt it pretty quick, which I think we will. But I think today we'll see a Celtic team just beginning to click and head towards first gear. We've not hit second gear yet, I don't think. It's not sorry, the first gear. Top gear, and I think Celtic will definitely just. I feel like Celtic are just going to just show up today and just put on the style for the fans all day.
Me as well, Mark. I think it's going to be 4 or 5 now.
Aye.
Ryan's coming in and saying that their season won't be defined against Celtic, and he reckons it'll be 4-5-1 from Hearts today. I'm kind of thinking they'll go 4-5-1 with Shankland up top with James Forrest's wee brother. They'll probably play him. And
a 4-5-1 formation.
Aye.
Well, that would make sense. The crowd midfield, keep that a good back line. You know what I mean, and just play the long balls and try and play anything that's loose. To be quite honest with you, I think 4-5-1 is the away team set up in Scotland at Celtic Park. I'm kind of getting used to that now over the years. I think the days of two strikers as such is finished, and they will pack midfield. But I think when you pack midfield, this is the thing I like about that. The temptation is to try and press Celtic too high, and then see when you do that, you're just creating space for Carter Vickers or Starfelt to hit the ball right to McGregor, and then fucking bang, he's turned on a sixpence and Celtic are on the attack straight away. Because it depends how disciplined Hearts are. If it's boys, it's just going to be sitting pressing their defence. And then it's going to be an easy out for Celtic. Celtic are going to just pass the ball easy all day. But see if they start bringing a second man into that equation, you just got to open up for Celtic. There's going to be space around midfield. It's just going to scatter players about. And I like that, you know what I mean? Because eventually the discipline, they lose their head weight and they just start running towards the ball. Start marking men they're not supposed to, and I like that, you know what I mean? Celtic will pass through that, no bother. And this is when Callum McGregor, I think, plays his best football when that midfield just opens up. I think and maybe have two of them stepping out to try and press Carter Vickers and Starfelt. Although Starfelt, if he's playing today, he gets a lot of time on the ball. I think opposition managers see him as another Boyata, where you just let him move forward and he'll make an easy pass, or he'll make a bad pass, or whatever. But they let him have the ball as much as possible. I think Chris Ayer was the exact same. I think the opposing managers let Chris Ayer run towards the penalty box if it tackling him. To be honest with you, and that's a tactic by managers. Actually, they don't waste a man by going towards him and letting him skip by them with a pace. I think they just like to stand off them and just settle back into a back line and use their numbers rather than try and physically push these guys after the ball and give away free kicks and things like that. But I think that'll play into your hands. I think 4-5-1 will give us a lot of time on the ball, which we will have anyway, I suspect. But I think it'll bring Callum McGregor into the game quite a lot, and who's been pretty quiet this season as well. Actually, I mean, he said moments, but he's been pretty quiet as well. I think today is a Callum McGregor game. To be honest with you, I think. I kind of hope Hatati's back. I know he was fit for last week. I think he held off for this week. If we get Hatati back fit with O'Reilly and McGregor in midfield, I think that combats their five no bother. I think Greg Taylor is basically another midfielder anyway sometimes, and I think Juranovic does something. I'm not entirely sure what he does yet, but he's there as a person at least. So we'll combat that five no bother. I think.
No. Mark, I want to ask you, in terms of the centre backs, do you think you'll stick with Starfelt, or do you think he'll go with Jens?
Well, I think he'll all go with Jens, to be quite honest with you, mate. I did mention Starfelt there, and Starfelt
Aye,
did
me as
come
well.
on and he got his goal, but he's don't forget it's a guy who's had 0 pre-season. I think if the game was not in each or 1-0 last week, and Jens come up injured, I think he would probably just changed up a bit. I'm not sure that he wanted to actually bring him on. I thought that was maybe a case of it's the circumstances, and he scored his goal. And don't forget, his first 2 actions were to give the ball away. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, there's
Aye.
Starfelt back. You know what I mean? And he's always going to have that, where he's fully fit or where he's half fit. He's always going to have that in
See
him.
one thing.
Jens looks better.
See one thing I liked about James, Mark. He's got a presence in the box. He's got a physical presence when you go in the box. It reminds me of a Julian or a Steve
Aye.
McManus, where you could always count him scoring a goal. I'll never forget Steve McManus always scoring the odd goal.
He was good. He was good in the air. Steve McManus. It was a shy football player, but he was good in the air. No, I agree with you. I think Jens. I did see Ange saying Friday that all the players are fit. So for me, that means Jens is starting. And to be quite honest with you, I've noticed under Ange that the players who have the shirts, if they get injured, it's not always the case to just step back in again.
I just straight back in again.
If the guys who replace them are doing a job, he doesn't just drop these players out straight away. He gives these guys the proper chance they deserve. And I think if Jens gets 5 games for Celtic in a row, then I don't think Starfelt comes back in. I think Jens is just going to prove his quality. I think for what I've seen, he offers you everything that Starfelt offers you. The presence in the box, good at set pieces. He's calm on the ball, but he's also a wee bit more. His technical ability is really good. And Starfelt looks like he always looks clumsy, even when he's put a challenge in. And he has his good moments, but he has his Effie. One day he's Effie Ambrose, the next day he's Chris Julian at his prime, you know. And to be honest with you, mate, you never know what you're going to get. Same as Bayata. When Bayata was tuned in, Bayata was the guy who played for Belgium. But see, when Bayata wasn't tuned in, Bayata was the biggest fucking bomb scare I'd ever seen, you know what I mean?
Aye.
And I think Starfelt's in that category. But Jens, for what I've seen, he's younger than Starfelt, and he's also more composed. His technical ability is pretty good, and I think if that guy gets 5 games for Celtic, he's no dropping back out again.
Aye, I mean, I want to ask you now, Mark, in terms of this game. I just think it might favour James in terms of Robbie Nilsson's side. I think they're always quite physical, and I think James is the perfect guy. I want to ask you about Julian, because Julian's a strange one, because now we've got 5 centre backs, Mark, and Julian seems to be nowhere to be seen.
I totally agree with you, mate, and I actually think the Jens signing was just to bolster the centre back position. I think.
Yep.
I think if you asked Ange, I think he'll tell you he's got 2 places up for grabs, and he's got 3 players: Jens, Starfelt, and Carter Vickers. I think that's the 3 players that he trusts complicitly.
And then he's just taking Welsh to drop in there as well.
No, I totally agree with you, mate. He's a number, and he'll do a job. But I think serious. If you're talking serious, mate, I think Ange knows that you can't fling Stephen Welsh in Ibrox or the Champions League, mate. I mean, I know he scored a goal every 9 months at Celtic, but you know this goal threat that some of the Celtic fans seem to think he is. You know what I mean? And he's certainly not a good. He's certainly not a good defender, mate. He's capable of doing a job. But he's another Darnell Day or something like that. He's not going to be a Celtic player. I don't think. I actually think the reason why we didn't sell him, this is my reason, I think, is Celtic need a Scottish contingent in their Champions League squad. And I think if Celtic were going to sell him and then try and replace him, you're probably not going to buy a centre back in Scottish football that's better than him, that's Scottish. I think Suter, who went to Rangers, would have been an ideal situation for that. He's a good player, but you're probably not going to get many. It would probably be.
I think that's one of the reasons why we've kept James Forrest, because we're probably going to let Mikey Johnson go. James McCaffrey comes under that because of Republic Island as well. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've kept James Forrest there. I think James Forrest probably knows he's not going to get much playing time, Mark.
James Forrest is. I think that his length of contract is what surprised me. He got off 3 years. I mean, I think he must have pictures of Peter Lawwell sucking down at Desmond's tips or something. How he managed to get that job, a 3 year contract with him, I don't know. But he's been a great servant, and maybe it's just a part of his contract that he'll get a testimonial, he'll get a big payoff. Maybe he's not back a big move at one point in his career, and Celtic will give him a wee reward because of it, which should be fine, because he was good for Celtic for a good 5-6 years there. He's 9. He was really good, and no, I agree with you. I think you need so many homegrown players in your squad. I think it's like 3 or 4 or something. And as soon as I seen us knocking back the Welsh offer, I thought surely we're not knocking back that money because we feel like he's going to be second choice or first choice. Because to be quite honest with you, I think if Julian hadn't been the arsehole that he's turned out to be, Julian's 4th choice and Welsh's 5th choice, and that's a fact. You know what I mean? And I think if didn't you? I think Welsh at Ibrox or Welsh at the Champions League, just fuck me, man, that would really unsettles almost all the Celtic support. You know what I mean? I think some probably do like him, but
Scott disagrees. Scott disagrees, man. Scott says Stephen Mills will become a very good player. Watch this space.
But a player at what? Cricket? He's not going to be a Celtic player. He's listen. I'm going to say you can pin this to anything you want. That guy will not be a regular Celtic player at any point in his career.
No, I don't think so as well.
No chance. No chance. Not a chance.
Mark, I want to ask you in terms of next week, because we've got the Champions League draw on Thursday. In terms of that, I mean, looking at the squad, I would love to have the box office games, but looking at the squad now, I think it'd be ideal if we got an easier group.
Oh, mate, listen, I mean, see, the fact of the matter is what it is. The board haven't decided that Celtic are going to be serious, so they thought, so they've no, right, okay. So you can take it any way you like, but so there is going to be a few sore ones. You're going to have to accept it, mate. There's going to be a few sore ones that you'll maybe have to just chalk off to, or just at that level, which is fine. I kind of accepted that a long time ago at Celtic, but I think I'm of the opinion. See, if you like European football, which I don't, but if you like it, your best case scenario is us finishing 3rd. So see if you get 2 powerhouses like Real Madrid and Liverpool, you're going to get a few smashes, right? You're going to get a few 5-6-0s, right? I understand that, but you've only got one competition, and that's the top 3 teams.
That's a good way, right?
And if you can get 4 points out of the 2 games, or even get a better goal difference over the 2 games than that team, and you drop into 3rd place. I mean, you could potentially get to the Europa League with 3 points, because if you beat a team 2-0 at home, then get beat 1-0 away, your goal difference against them gives you 3rd place, and that gets you the Europa League football. Because you'd imagine a strong pot 1 and pot 2 team would take care of Celtic and Rangers, Celtic and the other team.
Mark, we've already seen what we can do in Europe, because look at what Rangers did last year. I mean, you're trying to tell me this Rangers squad is better than the Celtic squad? I mean, like,
I don't think.
They've turned Ibrox into a fortress, Mark. There's no doubt about that. Like, and I just wish we could turn Celtic Park back into that.
But Reegan, I don't think Celtic fans are kind of accepting and playing the same sort of football. Rangers just play football in Europe, and they just let the other teams play, and then just try and pick off the carcass. You know what I mean? And Celtic fans won't accept that. Celtic fans would rather. I think it's the Celtic support would rather us go to a team and get beat 3-0 than sit back and try and get a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 win. And I don't like it myself, mate. I think it's quite naive to think that way. I think Celtic should be playing the match and playing the opponent. If that means going like this, look, they're much better than us, we're going to have to just get dirty tactics and just try and play for the scraps, then Celtic should do it. Plus, don't forget, they're the most jammiest football club I've ever seen in my fucking life. Honestly, mate, the luck they get is unbelievable, man. Honestly, they've sold their souls to the devil a long time ago. And Jimmy Bell's fucking, he's the one that's copped it, caused it. You know what I mean? And aye, mate, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, mate. And there is going to be Rangers are going to be a benchmark for anybody that's outside the bubble and saying, well, Rangers can do that. So Celtic should be able to do it with the same level of squad. And to be honest with you, they're absolutely right. But Celtic, they haven't got their luck for a start, right? And a lot. Some of it is luck. A big factor is luck, but they're also capable of playing a European type football that we know, mate. This is probably their third or fourth season where that kind of settled squad playing this type of European football they've got, where they just kind of like they shut off areas of the park. You know what I mean? Play with a lot of width and Celtic aren't like that. Celtic have just always had this mentality where we're Celtic, we'll play the Celtic way, and if that means us getting beat 7-0 at PSG, then so be it. And it's unfortunate for me and you having to watch it, but
it's
I
terrible.
think it's going to change. I've said before on the show, mate. For me, European football is a farce, mate. I don't like it. Teams like Celtic, we've not got a chance against the £750 million strike force that PSG put out against us. We've not got a chance, mate. It's unfair. But not also that. There's teams like Zenit St. Petersburg, and they can get to the finals of the UEFA League. Ajax can do it with the same budget we're on, not much more. Rangers can do it with a less budget. So it's certainly only going to adapt to European football. It's certainly got no chance to get into that level of football that Rangers got to. We're just too naive, or too cocky, or too up on their arses to do that.
Scott disagrees. Scott says Celtic are going to get
does he? That's a surprise.
Celtic are going to get 9 points in the Champions League. 9 points, he says.
I think he's up all right watching that boxing. I think he's mad with it.
Thank you for commenting, Scott. It's always good to see you on the show. Brown Warrior says Rodgers always got found out playing football in Europe. No, Mark.
Exactly, mate. But see, Rodgers, don't forget, if Cal McGregor slots that easy tap in against Gladbach, we win that match. You know what I mean? And that changes the dynamics. We could have got to second place one season. Rodgers wasn't that far away, mate. Rodgers did take a couple of downs, but he wasn't that far away. I mean, he's the best manager I've ever seen at Celtic Park, and I think he was just unlucky. But he had that kind of naive about Manor, where he wanted to put himself up against the best managers and go toe to toe. I mean, Hearts are maybe there. Celtic are there, right? Celtic are there, and Barcelona's there. But Celtic will not change their tactics. See, Hearts will say, hey, we're playing Celtic today. We'll need to shut off the channels. We need to try and get in their faces, try and make it difficult. We won't adapt. We will just say, no, we're Celtic.
Scott,
Barcelona.
Scott says Ange will adapt to European football.
No, listen, I think Ange's getting rid of man tactic. I've said that before on this show, right? But I can assure you, see they playing it for the back, that will not change. See the aggression, the aggressive attacking, that won't change. The midfield won't have two players sitting in. It'll be one player sitting in. It'll be McGregor. That won't change, mate. I mean, the Ange adapts more than folk give him credit for, right? But I can assure you, mate, Ange won't have they start playing 4-5-1s in Europe or start making the midfield like turgid and things like that. No, that won't happen. I think he did it. He went to the World Cup with Australia and went toe to toe with three teams. They lost 3 matches, but he got a lot of good press because of how good his team played. But he went toe to toe with some of the best club teams in the world, and see if he gets a chance to play the Champions League. See whether it's Barcelona, whether it's Real Madrid, whether it's fucking anybody, he will play to what his philosophy tells him what he wants to play. It might mean a few doings, and he will adapt. You know what I mean? But Celtic will no change their philosophy just because it's Real Madrid. I can assure you that, mate. And I don't think you're going to see two midfielders. I think you're going to see one in the midfield. You're going to see 2 in front of him. You're going to see one striker with two midfielders. You're going to see 2 overlapping defenders.
Do you think the fact we are playing in Scotland is at a disadvantage? The fact that we
Aye.
beat teams 4 or 5 every weekend and we go into Europe. I suppose the thing as well, Mark, is like, you look at a team like Nottingham Forest, right? Nottingham Forest signed that guy for Wolverhampton Wanderers for 45 million. It's only played 20 games and signed him for 45 million. And that just shows you that football's going crazy, man. And like, people need to realise that Celtic's on a different stratosphere for that.
Oh, but see the good thing about that is, mate, that's almost irrelevant, because see that player, he's playing in the English market and he's signed inside the English market. It's a big bubble they've got where they overinflate things. We've got to markets that are kind of no one tap, but we've got to markets where £5 million gets you the very best in that league. Or £3 million gets you the next big project. So Celtic are shopmen in the aisles that they can afford in, you know what I mean? If you were going down to England and saying to Everton, he's your second choice right back, who's probably not as good as your first choice right back, they'd want 35 million.
John Joe Kenny was here.
Well, that's a bad example. That guy's fucking awful. But okay, we'll just say, even just a mid-level team like an Aston Villa, you ask for their second choice centre back, who isn't as good as your first choice centre back, right? They're wanting money we can't afford. Even if we signed that guy, he wouldn't displace our player, because we've got him for different markets. We've got him for loans to buy. Because we couldn't, like, for instance, if Kyogo has scored 4 goals for Norwich in the Premier League 2 years ago, we tried to buy him as Norwich's first choice striker.
He's 25
won 4
million.
goals. He's 25 million. We don't buy that, mate. Instead, we've paid £5 million for the very, very best player in Japan, who's come down to our league and showed how good he is. You know what I mean? So I think that bubble in England doesn't matter. See, unless you're there, I think if you're in the bubble in England, you know, buying a £35 million second choice for Chelsea isn't going to make you that top team. That's just not going to happen, mate. That's the equivalent of Celtic buying a £4 million player for Holland. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think it that way, mate. But I mean, I wish that Arthur till I die, they bought a goalkeeper for 24 million. No. That One at All Costs on Netflix, on the Amazon Prime. Aye. They bought a keeper for 23 million, and there was no guarantee they were going to play him. He wasn't brought in his first choice. They only dropped the first choice because he let in 5 goals. He let in a few goals. They went, we'll give this guy a chance now. I mean, they can afford to pay £25 million for a backup keeper with the potential to be first choice. Whereas we could get a keeper for not too much dissimilar standard. Probably not much. I mean, our second choice, I think, is probably
Seagrass, just as good.
He's probably just as good as any second choice keeper in the bottom half of the EPL. Probably just as good as any of them, right? But in England, he's 15 million.
Yeah,
it's you've got to be in that bubble to demand that sort of figure. So it didn't really count for Celtic, I don't think.
So Mark, me and you've been on for 60 minutes now. So what's your prediction for today, mate?
I said it before, 5-0 Celtic.
I'm going to go 4-0 Celtic. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us, and hopefully Celtic win. Don't forget the Boys and Bus is back at 6 p.m. for some PMP. Thank you for joining us.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.